What's up, Internet? You're tuning in to episode 116 of Nintendo Noise, Split Screen Games Weekly Nintendo Podcast. I'm your host, Pete and Bessie, joined as always by my very good friend and co-host, Mr. Steven Radford.
Hello, hello.
Hello, Steve. Another Nintendo Indie World is upon us. And I gotta say, some pretty good games.
Yeah, I was excited about some of the stuff announced. There's one game in particular I'm really excited about, but we'll get to that when we do a bit of a rundown through it.
I wonder if it's the same game that I'm really excited about.
Probably, yeah.
I feel like it is. I think we're on the same page here. But there's a couple good games here I want to chat about, and we're gonna just dive right into it. We got a lot to talk about today, and we'll see if we get to the rest of the news on the other side of this Indie World event, because there's like 20 plus games here that I think we're gonna want to gab about for a minute. But if we do, we got some Black Friday deals to talk about. We got a new trailer for a new Pokemon show on Netflix, Pokemon Concierge. So we got a good week here in the land of Nintendo, wouldn't you say, Steve?
Oh, definitely, especially considering Game of the Year and nominations over at the Game Awards. Tears of the Kingdom, pride of place in Game of the Year, along with a bunch of other categories.
Saying
Probably going to clean up.
Second year since in the Switch's life cycle, where 2 out of the 5 games nominated for Game of the Year are Zelda and Mario. So
Yeah, it's going to be the start and the end of the Switch, because next year we're probably going to get the second one. But if you want to hear all about that, it's over on Flip Screen Games podcast this week. We spoke all about the Game Awards.
yeah, great conversation on that show. So go check it out. So let's jump into the Indie World stuff. We're gonna go through it in chronological order. There's a good number of announcements here, but I think they did a pretty good job of organizing things in kind of like a pretty natural. You got the big hype moment, and then you kind of you gradually get into some of the other stuff. So I think we'll just go with the pace that they set for us. The first game that we got to look at was Shantae Advance Risky Revolution, which is a game with like a really cool story behind it. It is
Mhm.
a sequel to the original Shantae, Half Genie Hero, I think is the name of the original game.
Yeah, over on the Game Boy Color, that one
Right.
was.
And that was like, kind of it was like a real cult classic, and like obviously it got brought back a couple of years ago, and people were stoked to see it return. This game was introduced by the team as being like the sequel to that game that they were actively working on, and the game obviously never saw the light of day. It was never finished, and with some help from Way Forward, they are reuniting the original dev team and are gonna finish the game. And you can like see it's really cool, like the mix of style that's on display here, because like the moment to moment gameplay and like the character graphics and everything definitely have that decidedly Game Boy Advance feel. But then you've got those kind of like modern character drawing cut-ins where the dialogue is getting delivered and everything that feels more modern and like what you might see in like a current gen platformer, like something like Celeste or something like that, right? And really cool. Like there's some cool ideas here. She can transform into different animals using like certain dances that'll like give you more traversal powers. Seems like there's like some real Metroidvania stuff going on with like going into the backgrounds and having that change the
Which I
layout of the
guess would have
level.
been so cool in like on the Game Boy Advance,
Can you
like coming
imagine?
from Shantae on the Game Boy Color. It's like, wow, I can go into the backgrounds and like really take advantage of like the parallax that's going on in the world.
Yeah.
It's cool. I think it's such a cool story. I'm glad Way Forward were able to kind of resurrect their franchise, because they worked on Shantae on the Game Boy Color. We had a sequel, Half Genie Hero, that came out on like the Wii U and then came to everything
That's the
else.
one I was thinking of. Okay.
Yeah, that one came out in 2016 on basically every platform, including the Vita. And now we're getting Shantae Advance, which is like a revival of that cancelled game. They also worked on River City Girls and a bunch of other games, but for the most part, like they worked on after Shantae, they were kind of funneled down the licensed games route. Worked on the game for the Scorpion King and Godzilla and Nickelodeon,
God,
SpongeBob,
shout
like
out to
did
the
all of that
Scorpion
stuff.
King.
Yeah.
Is that the first movie The Rock was ever in? I think it was.
I think no, it wasn't he in. Yeah, maybe it was The Mummy with Scorpion King. Yeah, I think he might have been in one of the Mummy movies before the Scorpion King. I don't know, but yeah, it's really cool.
Oh, you
It's
might
part
be
of that
right.
franchise.
Isn't the Scorpion King a spin-off to the
It's a
Mummy?
spin-off of The Mummy, yeah, I think he was in,
Yeah.
like, The Mummy 3, and then, like,
Maybe
they did
he's
his
yeah, a
own
supporting
movie, yeah.
character in that. God, I gotta go back and watch the Mummy trilogy. See, I'm telling you, we gotta make a show where you and I just watch movies or something, like, and we just pick dumbass old movies to watch together.
You know what? I wish copyright wasn't a thing, and we could just do a movie watch alike, it'd be great, It'd be so
Here's what we
nice.
do. You can, and what we gotta do is you gotta just do, like, a director's like, we'll record it, and then what we do is if you wanna watch it with us, you could put on a timer on screen, and we go, 3, 2, 1, play, and it's like the movie's playing, and then you just that's it. People can do it. Make it work.
I have never watched a movie with a director's commentary on, ever. I don't think I could do it.
I don't think I have for a movie. I have for TV shows. Hmm.
Yeah, it's a long time to capture my attention for at least an hour and a half
It's a
listening to a
podcast. It's
commentary.
what you're doing, though.
Yeah,
You gotta
yeah.
it's a spoiler cast. That's what you're listening to, right? Like, it's not really about the movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, Shantae Advance, Risky Revolution. This is just really cool. This is a really cool story. I'm glad to see that this game is gonna get to see the light of day. It's obviously a big win for Way Forward and the team that this game's been shelved for, like, I think they said 22 years, right? Um,
Yeah, yeah, it will be that
awesome.
by the time it comes out, yeah.
Really cool to see something like this get revived. And, obviously there's a lot of Shantae fans out there. So, really cool. And like, I gotta say, like, this made me more interested in wanting to check out Shantae because I've never taken the plunge. Obviously, I'm a big platformer guy. And I was like, oh, this is such a cool story. Like, I kind of I want to give this one a shake.
I'm with you. I thought it was a cool way to open the show as well, like have this story, and I liked the fact that I'd completely forgot that they do it with indie worlds. They kind of sometimes shy away from it in the main directs that we hear from the developers, and we heard from I think it was a husband and wife team, the CEO of the studio and
The
the
creator of Shantae.
creator of Shantae, which was really cool to
What a
see the
power couple.
team working. Yeah, right.
Love it. So yeah, definitely a really cool way to open up the show. Next up, we got to look at a game called Core Keeper, which is due out in summer of next year. This is a not cozy game. Like
Yeah,
it's
do you know, it reminded me a little bit of, like, Moonlighter, where it's, like,
yeah,
everything's procedurally generated in the caves, and you go down and you do stuff, and then you can build bases and grow crops and stuff when you're back at base. I guess it's similar vibes to Cult of the Lamb as well, similar kind of
yeah,
play cycle to that, where you go into the caves to get resources and do things, and then you can use that to, kind of take back to camp and
farm
do
and
things.
do some
Yeah.
animal husbandry and all that stuff. Yeah,
I always
yeah,
liked that cycle. I always thought it was really cool that you get to do 2 things.
I agree. I think I made this point with Cult of the Lamb because I think there was a lot of people that um didn't like it as much as I did, right? Obviously, it went over with a lot of people big, but a lot of the folks in our audience that it didn't connect with, I remember them kind of saying like, "Oh, it was like not quite deep enough on the town sim stuff, not quite deep enough on the roguelite stuff." And like it was like that kind of master of neither, right? That ended up kind of being a takeaway that a lot of people had with it. And for me, I kind of like games that do that. Like it's to me a big part of the appeal of something like Persona, right? Is that like you're not just doing the same thing all the time, and like by the time you get back to the base, you're excited to do some base stuff. When you're done with the base stuff and it's time for you to go out and get more resources, you're ready for a breakup in gameplay. And I find that loop to be really rewarding because it doesn't make me engage with either system for too long to feel like it's getting stale. But that can also lead to, I guess, the
Not a
system's not.
deep enough game. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And I guess it's like how do you skirt that line? I think this game looks really nice. Like I was very impressed by the dynamic lighting and like it's got that like 2D 3D kind of feel to it.
Kind of
I
reminded me of an art style from, like, Stardew Valley, though, when they're down in the caves and stuff, like, and you got, like, rings of light around you. It's really cool.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and
It
this one's next year, right? Summer 2024.
yeah, it's cool. I don't know, I'm a little bit, like, hot and cold with this genre right now, if I'm honest. Like, I feel like it's become so, like, played out where it's like every one of these events, I have to see a new game that more or less is doing the same shit as Stardew Valley or Cult of the Lamb or another game that I've already played. And I do have a little bit of that kind of like we already have a George energy with some of this stuff where I'm
Mhm.
like, how many games like this do I need? Or how many games like this can come out and really like leave a lasting impression? I will say this is the most interested I've been in a game like this in a while, where I'm like, oh, like this looks good. It looks tight. It has a good style to it. But I
It's
had that
gotta come at
moment
the right time though, I think. Like, if
summer.
you're playing this next summer, you know, if something else it comes out, it's also like, I was surprised by the number of games that were summer 2024, just 2024 with no date, especially considering I'm expecting a new Switch just around the corner, and to have this many games kinda queued up for next year is kind of was kinda surprising for me.
They
Um,
gotta
we gotta kinda
I
clear the pipes, I guess.
yeah, because I don't think it's coming out until, like, late next year probably, right? Like but I don't
Well,
know, right? It's
there was
also
the rumor that it was like they were targeting first half of 2024, and then they wanna get it out
yeah.
as soon as possible, like sooner rather than
Yeah,
later.
yeah, and they did say that they were actively looking to, like, move up their plans and get it out sooner than they had even originally planned, but I don't know, man. It's like to still have not gotten, like, official word of it and the idea that it's coming in, like, the next 5 months.
I mean, maybe we see a first look at the Game Awards. Like they posted the thanks for the support of the Game Awards. I hope people are going to tune in over on
Yeah.
Twitter. So you know, you never know. We might see something there. We saw that was the first place we saw the Series X for the
Yeah.
first time.
Yeah, for
So it's
sure, and it's
possible. And then
Nintendo.
that gets the holiday sales out of the way, gets the Black Friday deals out of the way. Like we've got that new OLED
Yeah, that's a good
bundle with
point. They've already
Mario
happened
Kart.
at that point, right?
Yeah,
Like, yeah, the Black Friday deals are happening right now, and
yeah.
if we get to it in the back half of the show, we'll talk about some of them. But yeah, so maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Maybe we get a reveal in the next month here,
Or you
and
do a
then it.
reveal in January. It's like, this is 2024. We got this big lineup of games. You know, you got this Princess Peach game, but what else is in the works? And also new consoles coming.
Plus, you got to imagine 90% of the games that that we're
Oh, they're
aware
all
of,
going to be
they're
compatible,
all
aren't
backwards
they? Yeah.
compatible. I mean, probably not
Yeah.
even 90, probably 100% of the games we're aware of are backwards compatible, right?
Yeah,
So
that would be my guess. Yeah.
that's the other question, though, right? Is like, so you're telling me between now and like say March or April, we're revealing a new console and we're putting it out, and then there's like a launch title on it that we've not heard of. Like, and again, it's like you're
I could see by
probably
like
right,
May,
but
like yeah, I could see it. I mean, the launch title could be something like Metroid Prime 4, and they're just holding it. You know, we might have heard of the launch title, but we've just not seen it yet.
could be another Mario too. I mean, there hasn't been a
Or
new 3D Mario since
do you even
Odyssey.
need a big launch title? Like, do you need one
Yeah,
when every single game you've got now plays at 4K 60 or
I
whatever?
I think you do. Yeah, I don't think you put out a new piece of hardware and be like, here's the successor to our
And
most
that's if they
popular
call it a
console.
successor.
But
Like,
it
what if
is.
they're framing this as the Switch Pro, like the PS4 Pro was, where you don't necessarily need a launch
Yeah,
title for that because it's just like this is the same console,
I
plays
think
all the same games, but it's
I think we're
better.
past that. I think we're past that, dude. Yeah, like I think if you were gonna get something like that, like a mid
That would have
refresh,
been the OLED model.
yeah, it would have happened a couple years ago at this point. And I think now, right, like we looked at Tears of the Kingdom, and there is that feeling of like, holy shit, I can't believe that they achieved this on the Switch. And also, imagine if it was 60 FPS, like if that wasn't a limitation that they needed to even contend
Yeah.
with. And who knows? Even with that amount of power, it might have ran at 30 FPS. We saw that with Starfield. Certain types of games, it's more complex animation and everything, more stuff on the screen.
But there would have been something like higher resolution, or maybe they
Yeah,
could have
for
achieved more with
sure.
the game, that kind of thing, you know?
Exactly. And I feel like I don't see how you, outperform the technical achievement of Tears of the Kingdom on the current hardware. So it's like, we can't just stop pushing development forward, right? Like, we need new hardware at this point. I think it's yeah, and I think you gotta have a marquee title. You gotta have a title there that you show off that you're like, "Look at this game, look at what it can do that the Switch couldn't do,"
Maybe
and
it's third party titles. Like, that's another thing they could do. It's like, here's that new Far Cry that was rumored, you know, and it's coming day and
yeah,
date to the
maybe, but
Switch
it's like
too.
I don't know, dude. Like you gotta
'Cause
have a
we had that around
you
the
gotta have
launch of the Switch.
you gotta have a marquee Nintendo title though, you know? Maybe it's Mario Kart 9 or something like that though. Like
Could be.
that's the thing.
That'd be a big one.
That game could be done for 5 years. We wouldn't even know, right?
Yeah.
That I could see. That I think could make sense. Let's get back to these indies though. Next up we got a game called On Your Tail. This one is a like cozy life sim, type game
You
mixed
know
with a
what it
detective
reminded me
game.
of? It
But
reminded me of those, like, hidden item games that you used to play from, like, fucking, PopCap
sure.
or whoever back in the day, and you'd, like, find the items around the place, but then they've added, like, a card element on top where you kind of, like, can collect cards and then use them, somewhere else in the game.
It kind of reminds me of oh my god. Objection. Phoenix Wright,
Yeah,
where
it
it's
did
like
remind me of that, yeah.
because it's like you're discovering clues, and then part of it is like sussing out contradictions. So it could be like you'll be examining like they showed one of the gameplay things is like you're examining a space in first person, and it'll be like this hat got knocked on the floor, or like, whatever, right? Like you start observing things, and then you talk to people, and they'll give you, oh, I was here, I was with so and so, I was there. Oh, well, so and so said that they were there. That's a contradiction. And then like you start trying to like put together leads based on that. And then they said that the you have like a finite amount of time for investigation. So like you have this kind of onus on you to be like, which leads am I going to follow, and how am I going to chase down the this mysterious like masked person that's messing up the town.
Yeah, it's a weird one because then that's all it's is also then paired with traditional life sim elements where you've got cooking and fishing and you can like enjoy your summer at the same time. So I guess
Yeah,
maybe it's a little bit like the Persona thing, right? Where you've got that slice of life if you want it, but then you also have to go and do this investigation and figure out what's going on to
that's like
progress the
the
story.
main thing that's gonna move the story along, right? And they'll probably I would guess you're probably right, where there's probably like, here's unstructured free time and you can do whatever you want, and then this is like an event that happens and you need to react to it.
Yeah. I wasn't sure about this one. I think I need to see more before I settle on it.
I could see this
Um,
being your type of thing, but I could also see it, you bounce off
just
of
not
it.
hitting, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, like, who knows, right? We don't know if it's gonna come together or not, but, um, it's got a good look to it, you know? Definitely, like, everybody's a furry. That's another thing, that we didn't mention. And, like, it's got a good animation style to it, like, I think it has personality, which I think, like, when you're talking about this type of game, that's, like, always, I think, the thing, is, like, I generally think indie games live and die by whether or not they're stylish, and like whether or not you can remember what they are. So like if this game comes out and it doesn't impress, if whatever, fine. But if it does, right, if it comes out and it does even okay, it has a unique hook where you can be like, ah, yeah, it's that slice of life detective furry game. Got it. Like those are three unique descriptors that you immediately are gonna remember. Yeah, yeah, the tail game. Got it. You know? And
It's
I
gotta
think
come
that
out
that
at some
helps.
point though. Like, there's been so many games where they've done that, like Monaco's Night Market, where they've kind of teased
Yeah.
me for like 5 years with that game, and then it finally comes out, and it's like the
Did it
wrong
come out?
time, falls flat. It's out, yeah. Falls flat, and it's like no one picks it up and no one plays it because you kind of
Man.
overhyped, overstayed your welcome, and then it didn't land.
I also just think it's like, why did you release it this year? Like, I know you've been sitting on it for all this time and you gotta get it
Yeah.
out at some point, but it's like, man, like, you've been advertising that game for years, right? Like, we've been following it since like 2018, and it's like, if it had come out any year before this year, it would have been a better year for it.
Yeah, it was like pre-Animal Crossing. Like, we were all
Yeah.
excited about it because it was like something like that that we hadn't
You're
had,
like,
you
"Give me a
know?
taste," right? And now you're
Yeah,
like, "Well, I had Animal Crossing. We've had 30 more of these games that have come out since you announced that you were," it's like this genre feels so overdone right now. Like, I need a break from it, not
yeah,
another
it's
one
tough.
in a stacked year, no less. I don't even have the energy for another game like this right now, you know?
What about Howl? You got energy for another turn-based tactical
Oh,
Fault
you
Town.
know I do, baby. You know I do, Steven. This game looks pretty sick, I gotta tell you. Howl is a turn-based tactical RPG, and the premise of it is there is this like curse that is like turning people into werewolves or like these wolf monsters, and it's spread through sound. So the protagonist is this like prophesized hero who's deaf, right? So she can't hear the howl, so she can't be affected by the curse. So
So
the
it's A
whole
Quiet Place meets,
like swords and
Little Red Riding
sorcery
Hood.
and yeah, kind of. Yeah, kind of. So yeah, it's like you have these like hand drawn like painted maps that are beautiful, and the whole thing is like turn based tactical RPG, but like you're solving puzzles as you do the fights, and it's like you can find like different pathways or different ways to like navigate through the map, and then that'll open up like different paths in the game as well. Sounds really interesting. Like this definitely seems like my jam. It's available now. There's a demo out.
It's a
I
demo,
definitely,
yeah, you're gonna check it out?
definitely, I really want to play it. I think, to be transparent with you, right? I was sick yesterday when we wanted to record this, so we're recording it a day late. If I'd felt better yesterday, I would have given this a shot last night. This one definitely stuck out to me as something that I want to give a shot, and an indie experimenting in a genre that I really appreciate. So I wanna make sure I show up for that.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. It looks like it's doing some interesting new things in the genre, and not just the usual kind of aping of Advance Wars over and over again.
Yeah, right. And it's like there's space for that. Don't get me wrong. I love Wargroove, but like
Yeah, it's like Advance Wars or XCOM with a different skin. This really
or
does feel
Fire
like there's
Emblem with
something
a new,
fresh. Yeah.
it's like this is something different. It's really different. It's telling a different kind of story. It's the art style and the presentation of it are so different. And again, like it looks like good gameplay, right? And one of the nice things about tactical RPGs and then like that style of game is that like budget doesn't really matter as much, right? Like it's like having good gameplay and a cool art style. Man, that's like 75% of the battle.
Yeah, it definitely goes a long way for it.
It's got real personality. So it's definitely one I want to make sure that I give a shot. Whether or not I get a chance to play it this week and I'll talk about it next week or whatever, I'll try to have opinions for you by the end of the year. All right, so next up, we got a game called The Star Named Eos.
Not the first
And
time we've seen this one, and we've definitely seen it before. I don't know if it was here, if it was at Gamescom or at Jeff's event
well,
or somewhere, but I definitely remember it.
here's the thing, Steve. You say that, and I trust you. Also, I don't know that we've seen this before, and I feel like we may have seen a game that's just very similar. Because I think I remember the game you're talking about, where you're looking at the photos and then you're going back into the memories, and there's like the stuff with the
No,
mother and the
yeah, we played that
grandmother,
one as
and
no, we played that as at Next Fest. This one was
gotcha.
announced in January,
Okay,
according to Eurogamer.
so I hate to say it, but this one really left me cold, man. It's like what I just said, right? Like I'm confusing it with another game I played at a different event or that I've seen at a different event, and it's like I get it. Like I know how this happens. It happens in every medium, right? Like ideas proliferate and people come up with similar things. And I don't think it's like a copycat thing. I don't think it's one studio ripping another studio off or anything like that. I think it's just that like there are certain ideas that resonate and they come together, and then you see these waves of the same types of games or the same types of movies or the same types of albums or whatever, and it's just like i I don't need another game like this right now. It's just another one of these. It's experiential and like it's about emotion and discover and the power of memory and photographs, and it's like how many indie games about taking photographs have come out in the last 2 years? Like,
Yeah, it
so
was like
many.
yeah, I totally see what you mean. I mean, there was that one that I played at Next Fest that was like through the window or something,
Yeah,
and you
and so
like
we
look
just
through the
had
window.
what was it? Toem, right? Like, just came out last year, and
Yeah.
it's just like I hate when this happens, and I'm, like, writing off games because it's like, "Oh, I've seen this before, I've seen this before," but it's like, you hit a point where it's like, "Man, I've seen this before," and it's just it doesn't have a super strong identity or a thing that's sticking out to me as like this is the thing that gives it a unique like again, right? I had something I could say at least about like Core Keeper and On Your Tail, and it's like even if those games come out and they don't impress or whatever, like they left an impression on me. Whereas this one, it's like, man, this just looks like a bunch of other games I've played or seen or whatever in the last 6 months, 2 years, you know? And it's like I I I want to see more creativity, right? And I think I know that I hold indies to a higher standard when it comes to that because there's so much conversation. We were just talking about it in our Discord this week in this industry about how AAA is lazy and it chases trends and it's this and that. But then I come to these indie events and how many of these copycat type games do I got to see, you know? And it's like, and again, I hate calling them that. That feels really disrespectful. I don't want to speak
I
ill,
don't think
but
I don't think this one's copied anything, and I think
yeah,
I think
you're
it's
right.
just a case that people have similar ideas at the same time. In the same way that we had last year at Summer Game Fest, it was
The
all of those
sci-fi horror.
sci-fi horror games, and that was the
50 of
whole
them.
thing.
It's like, what are we doing? All of these at once? Like, I would have loved a Dead Space remake several years ago, but when we just got the Callisto Protocol, it's like, do we need two of them at the same time? Probably not, right? Like, yeah, totally, totally. And I think it is distinctly different than like when you saw like a couple years ago, right? Where it's like everybody's making a battle royale because that's the trend that we're chasing. I don't think that's what it is as much, but like I do think it's like the cozy game thing. The doors have been blown open on it, and now everyone's like, "We're all making cozy games," and it's like, dude, I that's cool, but also I think we need some more variants. And that's just as much on Nintendo. They choose the games that they highlight in these things, and on them for picking the same kinds of games every time. You know,
Well, something that I thought was very different was the next game, Backpack Hero.
this game looks awesome. I really like this one. Uh, great sense of humor. This is what I'm talking about, man. Right? Like it's a inventory management game. It's like a roguelite. It's got the town stuff in it, right? Like it's got all these things that we were just sitting here being like, man, so many of these games, so many of these games. But this one has personality, it has style, it has a unique identity that I could remember, right? Like that's the name of the game for an indie, I think. What do you think
Yeah,
about this?
it's a really cool concept. You're just basically managing an inventory to go deeper into like generated dungeons, and then there's like a you take that and you do what we spoke about in other games. You kind of go back to your town and you build it out, so you get a little bit of both. But I liked the look of it. I thought it was something really interesting. The fact that you've got this inventory to perfectly square things up in, which I was an expert at in the original Resident Evil games
You're
on
gonna crush this one,
PlayStation.
huh?
Because it's like, you only got a certain amount, and then you get the attaché case to put it on the side, and it looks like as you kind of progress deeper into the dungeon, the bag that you've got, the inventory space that you've got expands, but then you also get more bulkier items that you've got to fit in, and you've got like a time limit to shuffle everything around. Look really cool.
And then again,
And
right,
there's
there's like the town building element that like similar to Cult of the Lamb feels like it feeds into that really well because it's like, yeah, you rebuild your town. One of the first things they show though, right, is like, yeah, the villagers will show up and you'll get new items. And it's like, oh, okay. You can directly see how that's going to influence your runs and like your ability to build your character out and have new strategies, right? And then like you unlock new characters as you go too, and each of them has like special skills and like different, kind of like X factor abilities or whatever. Like they showed one where it was like they like summoned monsters that like came and helped them in battle. There was one where it was like they did a thing that like cleared the field, like little things like that. So yeah, I mean, I think this game looks awesome. I'm definitely interested. This is another one that's available today. I think two of the two of the three games I was most interested in dropped today, which is awesome.
Oh, okay. I'm excited to find out what the third one is. I was excited about Backpack Hero, and there's another one that I'm really excited about.
Was that the one you were talking about earlier when you said you were excited, or is there another game?
Yeah, which I'll talk about. It's Moonstone Island, which
Okay,
me
that
and
was the
you,
other one I was driving towards as well. I'm
which,
really excited for that one. We'll jump
which we
ahead. We can
both,
we can talk about that one.
yeah, we both played the demo of this when it came to Steam earlier this year.
Uh-huh.
But now it's coming to Switch in spring 2024, and it feels like a perfect game that's gonna be at home on Switch. It's like Stardew Valley meets Pokemon. You, like, plant crops and you can craft, and there's NPCs you can romance, but you've then also gotta collect, Pokemon, and there's, like, card-based combat. There's, like, tons of procedurally generated islands that you can visit, ancient temples. There's, like, all sorts of stuff in here, and I had such a good time with the demo, and I've been really wanting to check out the full game, but it's just been time, and I think spring next year probably is gonna be a good space for it. Gorgeous art style, really cool gameplay. It just combines just 2 extremely popular games together, and it really seemed to nail it when I played it, so I'm really excited this one's coming to Switch and more people will be able to play it.
Yeah, me too. I really, really enjoyed what I played of this game at the time. It's definitely one that I am excited to give a little bit more attention and, like, kinda dig into, like, more of, I guess, what makes it unique, right? Because I think at this point, you and I, like you said, we played the demo and we really enjoyed what we played, but, it was, like, a pretty it was short, right? And it's like, I think that there seems to be a lot more depth to the game, uh, broadly beyond, like, just what you and I have experienced, and I am excited to kinda see, what else it has to offer because my initial impressions of it were definitely high. I liked the moment to moment gameplay a lot, and I think that's often, like, the area where, like, these, like, Pokemon clones struggle the most is, like, how do you, um how do you compete with what is one of the better developed turn-based battle systems in games, right? And has had generations and generations to develop. And I look at this one and I definitely think it's got the juice. So this is another one I'm very much excited to play. And unless I'm surprised by what's going on next year, I think this is one I'm gonna sink some time into.
Yeah, me too. I think this is like, early in the year. I hope it kinda lands around March time. It kind of tides you over to the summer blockbuster or whatever that's coming out. I think it's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, I think so. I'm really looking forward to it. I was glad to see it today. Um, the only game that we saw today that was one that we had, like, seen before that I was like, "Oh, okay, cool, more of this, great."
Yeah, I mean, we had a few others, right? There was, like, Braid, Passpartout 2, and, like, the Sizzle Reel at the end, Planet of Lana.
Yeah, but it's like,
Um,
Braid is that game came out, like, 20 years ago, it's
I
like, "Cool,
know,
great,
yeah, I
Braid,
know.
more Braid."
It's crazy to me that there's just, like, there's another one. There was one in that Sizzle Reel that I had not heard of. I don't know if you clocked it, Enjoy the Diner, which is also out today.
Yeah, that looked really cool. And that's when I'm like, "Why didn't we show that in the main part of it?" Like, that looked cool. That
Yeah.
had a
It
that
was
had
like
a
a
vibe.
Game Boy game. It was
Yeah.
like, just like 4 by 3 in the middle of the screen. It just looked really cool. I just wanted to learn more about it. So, I need to look that one up because I
Yeah.
just did not we just did not see enough of it, but the visual style was like, "Oh shit, that's really striking. That looks really cool."
Yeah, I agree. And, like, it had that kinda, like, like, yeah, like you said, it looks like a Game Boy game, but then it's also, like, it was, like, very moody, and it was, like, this, like, you're in a diner, and there's this, like, kinda, like, you're having this, like, real tight conversation, like, it almost reminded me of Coffee Talk a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
But, like,
Yeah.
darker, like, moodier, like, maybe like a noir or something like that, I don't know.
But then the visual style, I think, is like something like a Lucas Pope game where it's
Mm.
like quite low fidelity, monochromy style palette. It's like blue and yellow. I loved the look of it. I'm gonna definitely check it out.
Yeah, let me know about that one, report back. I was very interested in it, for sure, but
Yeah.
can only pick up so many games, right?
Yeah, 100. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we'll talk about the next one. Jumping back to chronologically where we were. So this was the one that came after Backpack Hero. The next up was Blade Chimera. This is another one I remember seeing. I think I remember seeing. Um,
Okay, maybe. I don't
Maybe
remember
not.
this one.
Well, see, this is what I'm talking about. But
This is now the cyberpunk, vibes that you're kind of are you
yeah.
done with those as well, Pete?
Um, not yet. I don't think because I feel like cyberpunk as a genre, like it's a little broader, right? Like you can, I think it's easy to have different styles of it. Like this is obviously a much different style of game than like Cyberpunk 2077, right? So it's like that helps. Um, this does have that super like Sega Genesis action
It reminded
game.
me of, like, Streets of Rage, like,
Yeah,
look visually,
yeah,
but it takes that, adds Cyberpunk on top, and then it's like, what if this was a Metroidvania? And it's like, "Oh, okay, like, maybe,
yeah.
we'll
Very.
see."
I don't know if it's for me, but it's like very stylish, and I definitely like. I get it. For the
I
folks that
don't
this is
I
for.
I don't play any Metroidvania until Max has told me it's any good, so I will make sure he plays it, which he probably has already, like, added it to his wish list, and then I will decide if I wanna touch it, because he's the guy. If you wanna know about Metroidvanias, it's Max that you
He
need
is
to
the
talk
guy.
to.
He's the tastemaker. Um, so then next up we got another this is another really interesting looking one. This one was called A Highland Song, and it is a story based platformer about a young woman who is like traveling through the hills and mountains of Scotland and is trying to like reach this lighthouse. We don't really know why, but it has this kind of like go to the lighthouse, and
This
it's
is
like,
a
okay,
lighthouse, you know? The lighthouses are cool. Why would you not wanna go to the lighthouse with Bambi? That's what I wanna know.
it's fair enough. But I mean, like, this game is very striking. Yeah, it has a really good style, really creative, like beautiful backgrounds. And the fact that they're like, oh, it's a narrative platformer. I'm like, that's interesting. Like, that's
With,
not a
like,
thing.
rhythm elements at times as well,
Yeah.
like,
Where
it
it's like
seemed
you're
like you
like,
had to,
there's
like, do it
a
in time with the beat, with the song, and
yeah,
there's,
you're
like,
like
lights that are coming up out the floor, and you have to, like, press the
doing the deer
X
or like
button at the
jumping
time.
as the music goes. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. Like that seems cool. Like I don't know. This is one that it's like I kind of feel like I need a little bit more of it, but like I'm interested in it. It definitely like again, it has a strong identity and a style that like left an impression and has me like asking questions about like, oh, like what do you mean by that? Like what does that look like moment to moment? Like,
Yeah,
you know, um so I don't know, I'm interested, got my
and it's
attention.
make or break on the story, this kinda game, I think.
Yeah.
If the story's there, this kinda game's gonna really land, but if it's, if the story's a bit weak, then I don't think it really works, but it looked visually cool. I liked the, hearing from the developers about it. I mean, I always like hearing from the developers. I think it's so cool when we hear from indie devs.
Yeah, me too. Especially when there's an interesting story behind the game, right? Like how many games are there about the hills of
Scottish
Scotland,
Islands. Yeah.
right? Not many. So then this next one, we got Death Trick Double Blind, which
Yeah,
is
you mentioned Ace Attorney. Like, this one is Ace
this
Attorney.
one is just straight up Ace Attorney, which is
Yeah.
cool. Like that's great. There's a demo available today. It's supposed to be out next year. And this is it's a I will say real quick, I may have misspoken when I said the thing earlier about the branching narrative with the clues. That may have been this game, now that I think about
Yeah,
it.
this is the non-linear one where you can kinda branch off and there's, like, different stories
Yeah,
going on, and there's that
depending
thing
on,
with the
like, what
clock.
clues you find and, like, how you
Yeah.
interpret them and everything.
Yeah, this one looks really cool. I liked the look of it. It's about like a traveling circus, and there's like a case involved around it. And I'd imagine this is probably part of a franchise that I've not heard of. Maybe it's not because it's like Death Trick colon Double Blind, or maybe this is going to be the start of a franchise like Ace Attorney.
Yeah, well, c refresh my memory if you can. Was this the one where afterwards we met from the devs and they were, like, they were, like, best friends since high school and they wanted to make a detective game? I think
I
this was
think
that one.
so. Yeah,
Yeah, to me, it sounded like this was their first game. So I'm wondering if the intent is to make this a series.
that would be my guess.
'Cause
Yeah,
it
that
the
this
way that
is.
they introduced it was like, "We've been best friends since high school, and, like, we love the detective genre, and we've always wanted to make one of these games, and I did the story and she did the art." Yeah, this was them because I remember her being like, "We wanted to combine, like, bombastic, bright, colorful art with, like, grounded characters, and that's why we chose a circus," right? It's like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." Yeah, this one I thought was interesting. Good
Yeah,
style,
I like it. I like the
good
visual
vibe.
style, and I always love a good detective
You
game.
really
I
do.
love them.
This was one I'm like, "Steve will like this game. Steve will
You
play."
know, you know what I really want? Just the Nancy Drew studio to come back from bankruptcy and remake games because I loved them. They were great.
It's tough. It's a tough genre to get right, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Again, it's the story. It's the story and the mystery, and whether it's a satisfying ending, whether you don't guess it early on,
And, like, are there
all of
multiple
those
ways for you to
things.
figure it out? Like, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like, it's hard to do all that. And then also, like, there is that kinda, like, it's so easy to spoil a game like that because if once you know, it's like, "Oh, okay. Well, the fuck?" You know? I know
I
that
still
was,
won't
like
play that again.
I remember people talking about that with I wanna say it's Persona 4, might be 3, I can't remember, but there's one where you're, like, chasing a serial killer. I somebody Zaid is in the fucking comments screaming which game it is right now. I think it's 4, but,
I think the
um
4 is the one where you go into, like, the TV. I don't know if it's 4.
maybe it's 3 then. It doesn't matter. And I remember people being like I've heard multiple people say, like, "Oh, I figured out who the murderer was," like, very early on, and it's like, "That sucks." Like, that it's like that that really kinda destroys the mystique,
It
right, of
stops you wanting to play it because 'cause you're just like,
yeah,
"Oh, it's clearly you, it's
yeah.
obviously you." It's like watching an episode of Scooby-Doo and you know it's the first person you meet with a
It's the
mask
first
on.
old man that we met, it's him, every time,
Yeah.
right? It's the white landowner that we met earlier, it's that guy, okay? Alright, so then, we got a look at Outer Wilds: The Archaeologist Edition, which is, coming out December 7th. There's gonna be a physical edition next year. I think this is just, like, very much kinda like the,
Definitive edition of Outer Wilds, if you
yeah,
want a,
yeah,
like, version that you know is done and dusted finally,
which
it's
great.
gonna be this one.
Yeah,
And nice to finally see a physical edition of this game on Switch, which is good.
yeah, yeah, it's great. I know there's a lot of diehard fans of that one. A game I still would really love to get to at some point, but you know how it
Me
goes,
too,
right?
yeah.
The
Yeah.
time keeps on rolling. But yeah, I remember that was one that Danny, when we were back at Loot Pots, he loved that game. He was, like,
When he
singing
wasn't burning down Doc's boat, yeah,
yeah, yeah, he was
in
singing
the
the praises of Outer Wilds. So, check this one out. Yeah, definitely a game that I know a lot of people connected with deeply.
yeah. Yeah, it's on my radar, but again, it's time.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like,
like
do I play this or do I play Alan Wake 2 or the finish Tears of the Kingdom or finish Mario Wonder, you
like the
know?
6 indie games that came out this year that I haven't touched that are
Yeah, and
apparently
then,
in
like, Mario
contention.
RPG Remake just got, like, a 9.5 and a 10, you know, across the board for
Yep.
how great it is. It's like, do I pick that up and play that for the first time?
It's like, I mean, I definitely am. It's a game that's one, right? That's a game I've been like, "Oh, I gotta go back and play it," for 30 years, really the entire time I've been aware of video games, and I've never done it, and now that I have the open, it's like, well, if I don't play it now, then when? Right? So, gonna be starting that one this week too, for sure. Hopefully not that long, right? It's an old game. Can't be that long.
Oh, I don't know.
Ah,
And then you've also got WarioWare as well, which I think Chewy's checked out, but we
yeah,
haven't, so we're gonna
I'm
have to
not
get
gonna yeah,
Chewy on to
that's
talk
fine.
about that.
Yeah, he was supposed to come on this week and talk about it, but he's busy, so we'll get him
Damn
next
it.
week.
It's this Nintendo with the indie worlds, you know, it's their fault.
Yeah, yeah. It is what it is. So then, like you said, we had our little wrap up. Planet of Lana is coming. That was one we've seen that one a bunch of times. That's the one with like the girl and like the little like cat monster thing. It's like a
Yeah, I think this one's on PC or maybe it's on Xbox, and now
yeah, and
it's
it's
finally
coming to
coming to
PlayStation and
Switch.
Switch next year. So
Yeah. Yeah, this one's exclusive to Xbox at the moment, so I guess it had, like, a timed exclusivity for a year, and it's probably gonna come in May next year after the
okay.
year's up.
And then Enjoy the Diner was the point and click narrative game you talked about. Definitely interested in that one. I think it would be great if you could play that. Maybe I'll go play Backpack here. We'll try to talk about some of these games next week if we get a chance.
That plus, like, Mario RPG, like, are we gonna fit all this in? Like, that's the problem, you know?
Might have to do an extra episode. I don't know. I don't know what you want from me, Steve. We need to give the people what they want and what they need. It's at some
People
point,
need to tell us which games they wanna hear about. Tell us what games you wanna hear about, and we'll play
and we'll
play
play
them.
them, and we'll play them. That's the flip
And it's
screen
probably gonna be
guaranteed.
Mario RPG because neither of us have played it,
Yeah,
and,
everybody wants to
you
hear
know,
that.
I wanna know about all that craziness
They
in
better
the
want to
first
hear about it.
RPG.
All right. If not, then we need more JRPG nerds in this fucking audience. If not, okay.
I think we got
Uh,
enough.
I think we got enough. I'm a big enough one for everybody. So then we got Heavenly Bodies was another one that they showed off. That's like it's like a physics based space game. Cool style. I didn't really like get a good sense of what the gameplay was, but it feels like
That's the
kind of like
problem with these sizzle reels. Like, I never get a good sense of what the game is, and they like
yeah,
wrap it up, and it's just like,
Unless
Crap
it's
out of
a
the games
game.
we know.
Yes, right? Like, it's like, why did you show me fucking, like, did like, it's like, and again, no disrespect, but did I need to see the Outer Wilds Archaeological Edition instead of, like, Enjoy the Diner or something, which was, like, out today and, like, a game I don't know about and would love to hear more about versus a re-release of a beloved indie game that it does not need extra publicity,
Yeah, I
you
know it's
know?
tough,
It
but it
sucks.
does draw people in. It does make
It
people
does.
excited. That's the problem. And it's like the sandwich. We start with a banger with Shantae Advance. We end with a banger with a physical release and like the definitive edition of the Outer Wilds. So
Yeah.
I could see why they do it,
Yeah.
but it would have been nice just to have like 5, 10 more minutes just to cover some of the games that were in that sizzle reel that we've not heard about.
I think a way I would like it would be even if they're gonna do this as a reel, maybe you just make it a little longer and you give each game, like, 1, 2 sentences, being
Yeah,
like,
because that's the problem.
"The
Rather than
Gecko
just like
Gods."
soundtrack over the top, you
Yeah, and
know?
it's like, I don't know what this is, and it's like, what if the music is one of the cool things about this game, Like, I hate that, and it's but, like, it would be The Gecko Gods is an experimental, platformer where you play as a gecko and solve puzzles, and it's like, just give me a sentence, Enjoy the Diner is uh, short point and click narrative game built in the style of the Game Boy Color, like, just give me something, right, like, to grab onto, 'Cause
Yeah.
it's like, we looked at
Yeah,
that
it's
game and I'm
true.
like, "That game looks awesome. What is it, though?" And it's like, I didn't know it was a point and click narrative game. Maybe I coulda guessed, but
It's like I think it's like Stray, but with a gecko.
oh, I'm sorry. I meant Enjoy the Diner specifically.
Oh, okay,
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you're right. A gecko, it reminded me of Snake Pass as well, of like, "Oh, yeah, cool. Like,
Yes, yeah.
let's pick an animal and explore the natural," you know
Way it moves, yeah.
yeah, right, as a platformer. That's cool. So, overall, I think solid showing. I think most of these games are attractive. Um, and I think the ones that like don't speak to us are, they probably do speak to fans of the genre. So I think overall pretty strong showing. Definitely a fun presentation that was well paced too.
I agree. I think there's when I come away with at least 1 game, then great, but I've come away with 2, maybe 3 games that I'm excited about, and
There's
one
three
that I
games
was
on this list I definitely want to play, which I think
yeah,
is a
which
very high
it
on
makes it
base
a good
percentage.
one.
What
Yeah.
was that?
Which I think makes it a really good
Gotcha.
presentation when we've got, like, 3 games each that we wanna pick up and play, and 2 of which dropped on the day, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's like exactly what you want out of one of these. I think like you said, if there's one thing for everybody, that's a W. So I think this is that kind of presentation. I think you'd be hard pressed to walk away from this not interested in anything.
I'm sure someone complained.
All right. So let's keep things moving. And oh, I'm sorry. You know what? In just a second, we'll keep things moving. But before that, let me remind you that this episode of Nintendo Noise is brought to you by our Patreon producers for the month of November. They are, of course, Arnold J. Rimmer, Christopher Valenz, Earth Visitor, Gabriel Hasselmeyer, aka Asobi, Pilkey, Snackago, Ty the Dude, and Wakahula. Thank you all so much for your support over on patreon.com/flipscreengames. You're all the reals to the real, and we greatly appreciate your support of this and all of our sister shows. If you want to go check out those sister shows, if you want to show your support just like they did, or if you just want to keep the conversation rolling between episodes, you can do all that and much more over at flipscreen.games. That's our website. Head over there, click on some stuff, however you choose to get involved. It really does help us out quite a bit. So go over there and get involved, however you choose to do so. We thank you for tuning in to another episode of Nintendo Noise. All right, Steve, let's talk Black Friday deals because Nintendo already starting to drum up some business. We've got a Black Friday section on the Nintendo website. It is going to run until November 27th. So there's already deals available right now. The Mario Kart bundle is already sold out, which
Well,
is
I got an email, which is so weird, and I was just trying to figure out if it was UK only because I got a press release from Nintendo telling
okay.
me that there's a new Switch OLED bundle coming on the 20th of November.
Oh,
which is going to include the OLED model and retail on the My Nintendo store in the UK. But I don't know if that's UK only, because I look at the link you put in for the US, and you've got the crappy old bundle that they've had for like the last 20
Yeah.
years.
Well, here's my thing, because I originally looked at the email you sent me, and then I went and found this because I'm like, oh, sure, I'm sure there's the US equivalent. And if you're on the page, it says save on select digital and physical editions of these games for a limited time. Don't delay. Offer ends on November 27th. These games are not marked down on this list. Are you looking at this? They're all $60. That's the full
Yeah,
price.
it's so strange. Is this like last year's link you found or
I
something?
don't
Like, is it
know.
still up?
Something's fucked up though.
Oh, that's so
I'm
weird.
finding out in real time that this is messed up because I was looking at your
Yeah.
email and I was like, "Oh, I'll just grab the link perfectly." I don't know what's
Unless it's
going on.
not gone live yet and they send the email out early or whatever. I don't know.
I think that's what's happening because none of these are on the
Yeah, it's going
same.
live. It's going live tomorrow. It's
Okay.
Thursday the 16th, so you can expect them to go up. Games such as EA Sports FC 24, formerly known as
Oh, there you
FIFA,
go. There you go.
Dreamlight Valley, Mario Rabbids, Crash Bandicoot 4, Lego Star Wars. They're all going to be in the lineup, and then a bunch of other games. Metroid Prime Remastered is going to be there for I think for the first time, and some other stuff. So, and then we've also got the new OLED bundle, um, which is going to be discounted. I think you basically get Mario Kart for free if you want it.
Nice. Worth pointing out, there are a couple other bundles I was able to find. That are worth checking out. Walmart has multiple bundles for the OLED Switch. They've got one with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. They've got one with Splatoon. Um, they've got like the regular one that's not bundled, and all of them have pretty steep discounts. You're looking at like saving between 25 to $60, depending on which bundle you pick up. So definitely worth shopping around if you're thinking about maybe upgrading. And then there's some good deals on a bunch of other games. Like you can, in the States at least right now, you can get Tears of the Kingdom for $55 at Walmart. You can get Mario Kart 8 for 44. You can get Animal Crossing for 50. You can get Odyssey for 49. So it's like some pretty good deals. So definitely start, if there's anything that you're in the market for, I'd start looking now because they're starting to crop up. I just got an email from Xbox this morning about their deals that are coming up and everything too. So, it's definitely time to start hunting.
Are they doing the thing with the game vouchers again this year? Do you
I think
know
they're still
in the
available
States?
right now. I think you can still buy game vouchers. The last time I
That's always a good deal as well. If you know there's a few games coming up, so you can get them for cheap, can't you?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely something you wanna take advantage of where you can. So yeah, just kind of a PSA for you. Go check out those Black Friday deals. By now, the time you're listening to this, well, actually, I guess if you're listening to this on drop day, they're probably still going live tomorrow. So, but keep your eyes peeled. And we have our deals channel over on our Discord where everybody loves to go and share those deals as they come up. So that's another opportunity if you want to make sure that you're keeping up to date with all the drops that you're going to want to try to snag this holiday season, whether that's for you or you want to get a gift for somebody in your life that needs to play Tears of the Kingdom or some such. It's a good opportunity for you to keep your eyes out. All right, we're going to close things out, Steve, by talking about the trailer for Pokemon Concierge, which is the new stop motion cartoon that's coming out at Netflix. We had this one revealed at a Pokemon Presents a while back, and now we got our first like proper look at it.
It's
What did
the
you think?
cutest thing I've ever seen. I'm in love with this. I absolutely adore it, and it's coming out on my birthday, December 28th. So a real nice present for me from Netflix and the Pokemon Company. But I could not think of anything more adorable than this slice of life Pokemon stop motion. It's just phenomenal.
It's
I
so
can't wait to
precious.
watch it. It's
Like
just adorable.
I can't get over how cute the Pokemon are, and
I
like
know. I
the
know.
the fact that they the textures are like true to like how like the Pokemon that have fur are fuzzy.
They're like fuzzy. They're like made of felt.
Yeah, yeah, they look like little like felt dolls or like little felt figures. And then like the ones that would be smooth are like slick and they look like they're made of plastic or rubber or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, just so cute. That little attention to detail is like really
That scene. That
I would love
scene
to
with
be
the
showing it,
Psyduck.
by the way, but we don't
I
wanna get
know.
striked for it, so you guys go check out the trailer yourself. We'll link to it down below. But what scene
It's
were you
so
talking about?
so annoying. The scene with the Psyduck where she's like, "Oh, this one's for, you know, Mudflip or whatever the name the bloody
Mudkip.
Pokemons are. This one's for Pikachu I mean, Psyduck," and then he's like, "Oh," and he's, like, cuddled up cute with her. It's so sweet. I love it.
I love Psyduck. I love that her sidekick is a Psyduck.
Yeah, it's so great, it's so great. I just thought this looked so charming, so wonderful, and it's nice to see something different that's not just the usual Pokemon. And and it's yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
it's
looks
like
the quality's just insane.
it is, and I'm totally with you because I think, like, my biggest disappointment with, like, the Pokemon IP, like, obviously, we've talked to death with, like, the video games and how, there's a need for an improvement in quality and this and that and blah, 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 right? Whatever. But I think just even beyond that, the Pokemon IP is so broad, right? Like, its applications can be anything, and, like, through the anime and the manga and even some of the spin-off games, like, you've seen all these different corners of the world that don't have anything to do with Pokemon battles, right? And that, like, the idea that there's a resort for Pokemon, or that, like, there's somebody who's like a Pokemon ranger or a breeder or like a detective or whatever, right? Like, we've had these little snippets of those kinds of stories, but you never really get to, like, sit with them and spend time with them. I love the idea of, like, a following a story that's in the world of Pokemon that's about this person that has no aspirations to be a trainer or to catch them all or any of that crap, right? Like, this is so cool and so unique, not just in concept, but then obviously the execution, right? The art style and, like, the way that the Pokemon are being presented is so off model, right? Like, it's not, they look like themselves, but, like, it's a unique creative approach to presenting them rather than the 2 or 3 ways we've been allowed to see them for the last several years, you know? It's like, this is so cool, and I would love to see them. I hope the show does well, and I would love to see them take more risks with stuff like this and stuff that's, like, maybe aimed at a different audience, right? Like, I don't know, like, what the tone of this is gonna be, if it is, like, more all ages or if maybe the intent is for it to be for slightly older folks or whatever, but, like, there are tons of people that could easily get into Pokemon that maybe don't wanna watch, like, an action anime, right? And, like, this is great. Like, you can lean into the slice of life stuff and the stuff that you usually get in, like, filler episodes of Pokemon, where it's like, "Look at this interesting person and how they live with Pokemon." It's like, "Cool, great, double down on that, man." I love that.
I do too. I think it's awesome. I want every single one of these as like a little model. I want little fuzzy Psyduck model.
I want
I
this
want them to sell
Dragonite.
it.
So they show her riding a
Yes.
Dragonite and he's fuzzy for some reason. And I'm like, great. I want this. I want this fuzzy Dragonite so bad.
Yeah, I love it,
Also,
and I just think it's phenomenal. Like, I'd love a game in this art style as well. Just like I want a slice of life Pokemon game that's like I don't have to collect everything, and I want to go hang out at the concierge and like a Stardew Valley meets Pokemon that's not an indie one that is actual Pokemon stuff. Like
it's so annoying how close they came with Arceus. Like, Arceus, like, I really hope we get another Legends game that doubles down on some of that stuff, because that was, like, the whole thing with that game, where it's like you live in this one town and it evolves as you play through the game and you help people out and you learn there's these cute little stories of, like, oh, there's this Pokemon that broke into the town and he keeps stealing stuff. And then it's like, oh, now, he just wanted friends. Now he's a member of the town. And whenever you're walking around, you see him there doing his little job, right? And it's like, I think that's so cute. Like, I would love to see them double down on story in a way that isn't doubling down on, like, narrative and lore, right? And it's like, not everything needs to be this big world-ending crisis. Like, it's cool that this is just like this cute little place where human stories can be told, you know? Like, that
yeah,
seems
it's great.
really exciting to me. And like you said, right? Like, it's so visually stunning. It's awesome that, like, because it's like, dude, stop motion is not cheap. It's hard. It takes a lot of effort to make high quality little models and take millions of fucking pictures of them and stuff. And it's like, getting a stop motion project approved in this day and age is not easy. And having, like, being like, hey, like, let's leverage the strength of the Pokemon IP to make something weird and creative. And that's awesome, you know? I love that. I really love that.
Did you watch the other series that the studio did? It says back from Dwarf Studios, and they did
Yeah.
an anime called Relakuma and Kaora.
I think
Um,
yeah, I think it's Rilakkuma. Is how you say it?
Quite possibly, yeah.
Rilakkuma and Karu, I think is yeah, I haven't watched it, but my good friend Laura, who is an expert in all things anime and cozy, loved it, and when this dropped, they sent the trailer to like a group chat that we're in, and we're like, "This looks amazing. I think this is so adorable. I love the studio that made this other thing, so they're great." And I was like, "Oh, okay, great." Like that's kind of the one concern, right? Is like when they announced this project, it's like, okay, cool. I'm into that in theory. What does that look like? How does it come together? Whatever, whatever. I mean, clearly very well, right? This 2 seconds or
Yeah.
this 2 minutes, I was like, it gave me the exact same feeling I felt during the opening of Detective Pikachu, which is my favorite part of that movie, even though
Yeah, like, when they go in the world and you get that, like, vibe and you're like, "Oh my god,
it's
this
just
is
like
so
10
cool that
minutes
there they are
o
doing
of just, like,
something."
panoramic shots around the
Yeah,
city, and it's like, "Here's this lady shopping with her Squirtle. Here's, this, like, Mankey that stole some fruit from a vet." It's like, oh, I just that's what I want. I just wanna live there. I wanna just be, I wanna just be able to insert myself in that world and, like, feel comfortable, and it's like, how many like, there's thousands of people in that world that are not trainers, that are just out there living their lives, like, cool, let's do it. I'm in.
yeah, it's so cool. I can't wait for this. I'm gonna be watching it on my birthday, Pete. This is where how I'm gonna spend my 31st birthday,
That's how I'm
watching
I'm gonna spend your
Pokemon.
31st birthday too, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah, good. When you hung over from your 31st birthday, you can be watching Pokemon on my 31st birthday.
Perfect. Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to it. This is an exciting time for me, as a person watching Netflix because it's like we're like a week out from the Scott Pilgrim animated show, and then a month later we got this. I'm like, man, I'm eating good this year.
I don't have Netflix at the moment. I was one of those ones sponging off my parents,
Oh
and
yeah, me too.
that got shut down. So
Well,
I
I
need to
had
subscribe to
I
Netflix
had
if
to
I
jump back in for Big Show. It's like, all right, they got me. They got
Oh
me.
yeah,
They got me by the
yeah,
tchotchkes, man. I can't be missing my Big Show.
yeah. No, I don't blame you. I'd be subscribing for Big Show.
So, you know. Now they're gonna keep me on the hook for 2 more months, and maybe I'll watch Castlevania. There'll be another season of Queer Eye coming up, it's like they got me back on the hook, baby.
Yeah, gotta watch Tan getting people fashioned up again in Queer Eye.
Bobby's last season coming up, come
No,
on.
it's not.
Yeah, he
Okay,
just announced
the
he's leaving.
revolution.
He's leaving.
That's sad.
I know. Devastating.
Is
Yeah,
the
you get
is
it though.
Anthony there still telling us everyone how to make hot dogs?
Yeah, yeah, no worries. Don't worry about that.
Good.
He's
I'm glad.
he's got you covered. Don't worry about that.
Didn't know how I was gonna live if I didn't learn how to grill a hot dog.
Listen, all right? Everybody wants to watch that beautiful man cook a hot dog. Leave him alone. So he's picking on him, all right? Leave him alone. I like Anthony. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. If you guys want to let us know what you thought, give me your number one pick from today's Nintendo Indie World in the comments down below, or the games that you're going to be picking up on Black Friday, or your idea for the next insane Pokemon spinoff show that we could get. Hit us with all that or whatever other thoughts that are rattling around in your crazy little heads. Hit us in the comments down below or head over to flipscreen.games where you can find links to our email address where you can write in for the question block or our Discord where you can keep the conversation rolling between episodes. I think that is probably the best place for you to go and get involved with everything going on in the community. The Discord is really home base. So if you're a longtime listener, you want to come and chat with us between the shows, if you want to come meet other members of the community, you want to write in and get your thoughts right on the air, that's probably the best place for you to go to hang out. But however you choose to go and get involved, flipscreen.games is the website, and we appreciate you tuning in for another episode of Nintendo Noise. For the crew, I've been Pete. He's been Steve. We'll see you next week, trainers.